Hey guys, welcome to this week's CRG Plays. Platformers. During the 90s, each console had to have its platformer mascot. And with the success of a certain blue hedgehog, developers from across the board reached to the animal kingdom looking to one-up Sega at their own game. From lions called Brian to frogs that drank Lucozade, the Amiga seen its fair share of characters taking on the platformer genre. So in this week's CRG Plays, we're going to take a look at one of my favourites for the CD32. Quik the Thunder Rabbit. Developed by Skyworks and released by Titus in 1994, the game came in two flavours, as an OCS/ECS offering for the classic Amigas and an AGA version for the CD32. My copy came from a special offer in CD32 Gamer magazine. Send off £5 and they sent me a disc. And by the way, just to mention while this game is loading, the original game disc will not work on a CD32 with an expansion. For today, I've just removed my TF330, but there is also a fixed version available over on EAB that sorts the problem. The game loads with this beautifully animated intro sequence that attempts to explain the storyline. The carrot locker is empty. The rabbit tribe of Angel Meadows is in great danger with predators ready to attack. The only solution is to find the magic seed that can produce as many carrots as you could ever want for eternity, but it belongs to Quik, the good sorcerer who lives thousands of miles away. Only one rabbit can get the seed back, Quik the Thunder Rabbit. Okay, yeah, so I just read that from the back of the jewel case, as this intro does a pretty poor job of setting the story, but regardless it's very well animated, and there's even a little poke at a blue hedgehog in there. We are then presented with the menu that lets us start game, enter a password. Yes, this game uses a password system, not a save file. And we can select the difficulty level, which I personally recommend you stick on easy. Not because this is an overly difficult game, but rather because of the insistence of European platformers to make you hit an enemy 2 or 3 times to kill it. Games like Sonic the Hedgehog, for the most part, use a one-hit kill on enemies. And it's not about difficulty, but rather it keeps the game moving, which is exactly what you want from a fast-paced platformer. So, do yourself a favour, select easy and start game. There are 4 levels in total, with each being broken down into 4 stages. 2 stages in each level are straightforward run from start to exit. In the other 2 stages, you first need to find a door that is generally very well hidden, with the access point often being behind scenery or at the end of a long blind jump. This arrow is the indicator that the access point to the platform with the door is nearby. Entering the door time warps you to a vertical platforming level. Sorry, a frustrating as all hell vertical platforming level in which you must make it to the top to collect the clock, while avoiding hazards and this absolute bastard of a bird that picks you up by the ears, dropping you back down. CD32 controllers are expensive, my friends, and I personally have came close a few times to snapping mine in half while trying to get through this damn vertical section. My best advice is to watch the position of the bird. If it's too close to where you need to go, just wait, it will start to move over to your position and then you can jump over it. Back in the main stages then, difficulty is increased with a time limit. Generally not an issue in the simpler stages where you have to run just straight to the exit, but in those that require you to find the door, and especially on later levels, if you don't know where you're going, expect to run out of time. Level design can be a bit confusing at times, but once you've played through a couple of times, you'll get used to it. Like in Sonic the Hedgehog, there are multiple paths on some stages, which helps add to the replayability factor of this game. There are also various secrets in levels, often containing an extra life, like this one here in Level 2 Stage 2. Once you beat the 4 stages of each level then, you're on to a labyrinth section, which is essentially a maze that you need to navigate through to find the boss. Oh, and lucky, there's no timer in these areas. The boss fights themselves are fairly simple. The first boss, for example, just let him hit you once so that you're invincible for a short time. Use that to run to his right hand side, and from here just use your attack on him a few times and he's dead. The second and third level boss fights are a bit more engaging, and then the fourth and end of game boss fight is, well, fairly simple again to beat. I suppose my biggest complaint about this game would be that the different sections almost feel tacked together. The time travelling thing makes absolutely no sense in the storyline, and the maze thing is, well, equally as baffling. Couple that with a rock and roll boss. What's happening? Quik handles fine with precise platforming controls and not too much in the way of sliding when you try to stop. Your cartwheel attack, which you do by pressing red, does result in a certain amount of bounce back from hitting an enemy, and Quik will occasionally bounce off the scenery when doing this, so at times it does get a bit like pinball, but well, it's not beyond control. Jumping then is handled by pressing blue. I would have liked to have seen an option to customise controls, as I think the game would perhaps play more natural with red as jump and blue as attack, but I suppose I should just be thankful you don't press up to jump. So, Quik, he's a rabbit, and like any responsible pet owner, we need to keep him fed and watered. Taking out an enemy will usually reveal whichever you need to collect to keep going, and your water and food levels can be seen on the bottom right hand side of the screen. If your water and food meters are full, then an enemy will generally drop a heart. Collecting these refills your health bar, which if full, collecting a heart will grant you a couple of seconds of invincibility. There are also 2 power-ups to collect, one of which is your typical dash power-up, making you run fast, but also invincible for the time you have it. The other lets you jump a lot further, which can come in handy in later levels to help you stay on the easier top path. There are 4 levels in total: Angel's Meadow, Oblivion Desert, Smashing Sea and Ice World. So it's not the longest game and can be beaten in a single sitting. Well, that is of course if you can find your way through those mazes and ahead of the damn birds in the frustrating as all hell vertical sections. A full playthrough for this recording took me about an hour and a half. Graphically, the game is fairly typical for your Amiga platformer. It's nice to see the AGA chipset in the CD32 being put to good use over the OCS ECS release of this game, as the CD32 version has more colourful levels and several layers of parallax scrolling. The player and enemy sprites are large and well detailed, but the animation of our character could perhaps be a bit better when doing your attack. A minor complaint though. Sound effects are fairly typical for this type of game, and the music has a very Euro platformer feel. It does fit the game well though, and there is a variety of music through the stages, with the soundtrack also changing between levels. It's nice to see on the Amiga the use of both music and sound effects together in game, and them not conflicting with each other. As I've said before, that for most this will seem like an odd comment, but for those familiar with the Amiga, you'll understand what I mean. The sound is hard panned left and right, as you would expect on any Amiga game, because it's a limit of the hardware. And you may even pick it up here in this video if listening with headphones, but playing on a TV or through a sound system, I personally don't pick up on it. Reviews of the time ranged from a fairly accurate 80% in Amiga computing and CU Amiga down to a fairly miserable 58% from Amiga Power. That magazine was really hard on some games, and for this one in particular, I think 80% is, well, about right. It just doesn't make it any higher due to that confusing presentation and the awkwardness in finding the doors and finding your way through the mazes. Despite all that though, Quik is one of the better platformers for the CD32, and I would recommend checking it out. The game does seem to be fairly rare however, with only one copy currently on eBay going for a total of £110 after shipping. Wow, personally I'd say it's not worth that. In fact, no retro game is in my opinion. So the WHD load files are readily available, and there is a fixed ISO over on EAB for those with the expanded CD32. There was also a release of this game for MS-DOS, which is closer to the OCS ECS version, and there was a planned port to the SNES. A ROM for that was leaked a couple of years ago, but it's very much unfinished with no sound or anything. If you want to check it out for your SNES, well, I'm sure Google could be of assistance. For those that like to skip through the game quickly, I'll stick the level codes on screen now. And well, that's it for this week's CRG Plays. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up as it really helps the channel. Please subscribe to keep up with future videos. Comments are always welcome below, and why not check out some of my other stuff. See you next time guys.